I'm Sebastian St. James. In a previous video, one of my viewers asked, S&P 500 IVV versus US Total Stock Market ETF VTS. Long-term performance is similar, 10 years plus. Which one would you go for if you were to pick IVV versus VTS? We skipped the first part of that question, but we'll deal with that in a future dedicated video coming up soon. Buy a broad-based index fund is what they say. What do they mean by that? Is the S&P 500, which contains 500 stocks, it doesn't really, but we'll say it does, broad enough? Or is that not, and we should be buying the whole market, the VTS, the Total Market Index Fund? Here's BlackRock's IVV. This is the iShares S&P 500 ETF. It has a management fee of 0.04%. As we discovered in the previous video, IVV, the Australian version, just holds the US version. That's all it is. The Australian version of IVV does not hold Apple and Google directly. If I skip the pond and find out exactly what IVV US holds, we find, just as rumoured, IVV holds Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and actually holds 507 stocks. 507? Well, that doesn't make sense. S&P 500. Where are these 7 imposter stocks coming from? If we look, Google Class A shares, Google Class C shares, how greedy, they have 2 spots. Berkshire Class B, Berkshire Class A. Greed, greed, greed. That's where the other 7 stocks come from. This is the Vanguard US Total Market Share Index ETF, VTS. It has a management fee of 0.03%, and it holds full holding data for this fund is temporarily unavailable on our site due to technical issues. Vanguard has this reputation of almost being the IBM of ETFs, if you like to think of it that way. But apparently, not so much with their IT department. Fear not, Vanguard is actually a US fund. I can just hop the channel and the entire Pacific Ocean. I can just hop the entire Pacific Ocean and go and find the US version of that. This is VTI, the ETF in the US. It holds, as a number of stocks, 4,056. Oh, wow. There's the data. 507 stocks versus 4,056. Yeah, there's no comparison, really. Now that we have the data, it's quite straightforward. We now have to choose which is the better ETF. All right, well, let's pick a winner. Covers S&P 500 versus Total Market. Yeah, I'll just choose Total Market. That's fine. Fee, 0.04 versus 0.03. I'll just go for the cheaper one. Yeah, that makes sense. 507 stocks versus 4,056. It's 9 times as much. Yeah, I'll just go for the bigger one. Thank you very much. So the winner is VTS. Is that right? Well, not so fast. IVV is actually domiciled in Australia. Aha, interesting. But, fun fact, or fun facts as it's written here, VTS is actually domiciled in the United States. And if you see, VTS is actually quoted in US dollars, that's the NAV. VTS is the total market index fund that's available in Australia. It's the place to go, but its NAV is quoted in US dollars, yes. It's foreign in every way. So we have to add to the list Australian domiciled for IVV versus VTS, which is US domiciled. That complicates things. You see, buying foreign ETF comes with issues. When you fill out your tax return, you have to be aware of dividends denominated in a foreign currency. Sadly, it's true. You will get dividends from VTS, but they won't be in Australian dollars. All assessable dividends received that are denominated in a foreign currency must be translated into Australian dollars. Translated. Yes, we have a word for that in English. It's called exchanged. Before being included in your Australian tax return. And there's actually translation conversion rules in a special table below. Well, that sounds like an unnecessary hassle. Yes, it is, but wait, there's more. This is a W8 BEN form that you also have to fill in if you hold assets in the US. The Certificate of Foreign Status of Beneficial Owner for the United States Withholding and Reporting Individuals form. But you knew that already. If I don't fill in one of these W8 BEN forms, who's Ben anyway, what actually happens to me? If you don't, and you actually sell your shares, presumably eventually you will, then you will incur a 30% tax, which you'll pay directly to the US government. If you filled out the form, no, there's no tax at all. If a dividend comes from what you're holding, if you filled out the form, there'll be a 15% tax anyway. Well, that's pretty harsh. If you don't, there'll be double, 30%. So now you're telling me even if I fill out this dirty, great big long form, I'm still going to be slugged with tax. That's unfair, it's unconscionable, and there needs to be a Tea Party rebellion as a result of this. Fear not, you actually do claim that back in ATO tax offsets. I'll show you. You can claim an Australian foreign income tax offset if you've paid foreign tax in another country. The foreign income offset provides relief from double taxation. Now, to get the offset, you actually have to pay the foreign tax in the first place. That should be automatic. VTS should just withhold the tax before they actually pay it to you. Then you go to your tax return and you fill out that amount. Then, of course, it's got to be translated into Australian dollars, doesn't it? Yes. You are alive now. I'm assuming you are. But if you cross over, then what actually happens if you hold foreign assets? Because VTS is actually domiciled in the US, right? It's not an Australian asset per se. An executor for a non-resident is what you would be, not a citizen of the US, must fill in an estate return tax. That's the form 706-NA. If the fair market value at death of the decedent's US situated assets exceeds $60,000. Oh, I just give up. Buy the Australian domiciled one, right? Well, not so fast. The question is VTS worth the hassle? Hassle it is, but is it worth it? Is the extra broadness worth it? Here we're specifically talking about the risk profile. Does it outperform IVV? In that case, we're talking about pure return. Presumably, if we're even considering the VTS, we want the safety of diversification. Broad-based index fund rather than the little NASDAQ 100, for example. The question is, how broad is the S&P 500 in and of itself? Is that pretty broad or is it nowhere near broad enough? Well, the S&P 500 holds approximately 80% of the US market. If America goes up in flames and the S&P 500 crashes, holding the VTS will actually not protect you from anything. The risk profile of these two ETFs is basically the same. It is the US market, whether it's 80%, whether it's 100%, doesn't really matter. It is basically the same risk profile for all practical intents and purposes. If there's a doubt in your mind and you're still thinking, oh, there must be a difference in the risk profile, 4,000 odd stocks versus 500 stocks, there must be a big difference in the risk. When we look at its performance, it will clear that up for you. There's one thing I need to address. There is a vicious rumor that's going around now that some of you are spreading. Oh, Sebastian seems so perfect. He never makes mistakes, right? Okay, well, that part's true. I don't know why I'm calling this a rumor. But apparently some of you have been spreading the rumour that I can't read. $450,000. Really? It's one number. How about we say it? And that I just randomly make bear grunting noises. I've got to grunt like a bear. All right, let's try again. I think that's a take. Some of you have even suggested that I see imaginary things that aren't even there. A piece of fluff. I don't know if that fluff shows up on camera, but I see it, therefore I have to stop. And that I have no manners. Piggy. And that I wouldn't even know which end of a camera to look through if it was pointed at me. I can't see myself. Just a moment. Right now, I'm going to quash the rumours. I'm going to categorically deny that any of those things ever happened. Some people are even spreading the rumour that I have a secret stash of these videos available to anybody who becomes a member of my channel. People are saying new footage of what I'm really like behind the scenes has been discovered every few days. Preposterous, unfounded rumours. Prove to me that this footage even exists. That's all I can say. VTS is IVV plus small cap stocks. That's really what the difference is. The question is, do those small cap stocks that are found in VTS actually make it outperform IVV, or does it not? Here is a one-year graph. In red and green, we find it's the VTS, it's the total market. In black is the IVV, that's the S&P 500. Well, black is actually going ahead a little bit there, and yeah, it basically finishes up. Yeah, there we go. Quite straightforward. IVV beats VTS. The score is 0 to VTS and 1 to IVV. That's over 1 year, which is rather short term. Let's double that. Over the 2 years, we notice, well, it's actually VTS is out in front there. And, more recently, no. So, over the total 2 years, we find that black, which is IVV, actually wins. That is 2 points to IVV, no points to VTS. Over the 3 years, well, they're so on top of each other. Green comes out on top, yes, we see that. Ultimately, black beats red and green, therefore. IVV now has 3 points, 0 to VTS. Oh, we need 4,000 stocks to be diversified, do we? Well, you're not doing so well right now. Over the 5-year period, well, they're right on top of each other. Minute little differences. Oh, it's black on top. So 4 points to IVV, no points to VTS. Here it is. This is the last graph. This is the 10-year. The 10-year naturally includes all the other graphs. It's 10 years. Well, they are basically on top of each other, and I can't even tell. Bring in the scrutineers. Well, if we magnify the chart, black has won. Yeah, that's IVV. Based on the graphs, the final tally for VTS is 0 wins. IVV has 5, 100% of the wins. Excellent data there. And remember, IVV is actually the Australian domiciled one. VTS was the one with all the complications of being a foreign asset. We don't need to worry about that based on the graphs. But what about the dividends? What about the total return? Well, the thing I can tell you is small stocks are not well known for paying big dividends. It's more the big end of town. So when we look at the VTS versus the IVV, I'm not holding my breath. Over the 1 year, VTS has returned minus 7.98%. Pathetic. Over the same period, IVV has returned minus 5.59%. Also pathetic, but not quite so bad. Therefore, that is 1 point on total return to IVV. Over the 3 years, VTS has returned 11.11%. Oh, that's Remembrance Day, the 11th of the 11th. In the same period, IVV has returned 11.44%. Okay, that's slightly higher. So, 2 points to IVV. Total return on the 1 year obviously is 1 year. That comes as no shock to you. But on the 3, 5 and 10 year graph, that's actually per annum. That's not overall. So over the 5 year, we notice that VTS has returned 14.51% per annum. That's not bad. In the same period though, IVV has returned 14.83. Aha! So it's slightly more. So 3 points to IVV, no points to VTS. Over 10 years, this is our final time period that these ETFs give me. VTS has returned 17.43% total return. IVV has returned 17.62%. Yeah, so slightly up again. Total return, which includes dividends over all periods, is 4 points to IVV and 0 points to VTS. So, it is time to announce the winner. Of the graph, the winner is IVV. Of the total return, which includes dividends, the winner is IVV. Yay! Fortunately, that's the Australian domiciled one without all the problems. In the numerous in-depth videos which I've done comparing different ETFs on my channel, I can tell you for a fact that this is the closest that any two ETFs have ever been. Normally, one will outperform for a year or two, and then over the 3 and 5, oh no, we find the other one is coming out, and there'll be a difference, like distinct difference between the two. These are so neck and neck. Nothing could be closer. Take a look, over 10 years, that's a massive period of time. VTS is 17.43%, IVV 17.62%. That's incredibly close over 10 years. So that's why I'm saying the risk profile is the same. It's both buying into the US market. If the risk profile between VTS and IVV was distinctive enough, then the returns would actually reflect that. There'd be a difference in the graphs, a difference in the returns. There's really not. And therefore I can say with confidence, the risk profile between the two, it's not worth worrying about. So my conclusions are, IVV, which is the S&P 500, outperformed VTS, the total return fund, over 10 years. What about 11, 12 or 13 years? What's the difference then? Well, the ETFs just give me the 10 years, so that's the data I can work with. Owning VTS is a hassle because it's US domiciled. Both IVV and VTS share the same risk profile, or so close to it it's not worth distinguishing. Which ETF is the right one for you to buy? Well, I'll leave that up to you. The question is, why am I trying to buy the whole US market in the first place? Would I actually be better off concentrating on the NASDAQ 100 and buying that? Would that actually outperform? Click here to find out.